Greetings, citizens! Justiguy has arrived, and today I'm going to be playing Soundless. This is a game visual novel by Milk Plus. It is another indie developer, and let's just take a minute to look this over because this is an important thing you should be looking over right now. So please just look over this. I will just real quick. Basically, this is a big kid game. Basically, don't stop the video now if this you know you get the idea. And okay, here we go. This game contains potentially upsetting content and should not be played by anyone who experiences detrimental psychological effects when exposed to these: bullying, social ostracization, and religious, psychological, emotional abuse and manipulation. Graphic and abstract violence and horrific death, violent but not grotesque torture, horror elements. Okay, this is gonna be a trip. Okay. Well, let's see how long I last. Frankly, um, presented by Milk Plus, and all the links to their stuff, whatever, will be in the description below, including this game. Anyway, let's go. Game options. Let's see, window. I'm gonna just do this. Did that screw up the recording? Yes, it did. All right. Whoopsie. Let me just fix that a bit. And that should be all I need to do. Let me just fix that over here, though. Excuse me. I don't know if you guys saw that, but are we good now? Are we good? There we go. Okay, I think we're good. Anyway, there's no sound. I just realized. I wonder if that's intentional. Well, let's begin. New game. Soundless. Yep. Everyone's singing to each other. Happy songs, angry songs, nostalgic songs. In this town, songs of every kind are heard every day. Sometimes their songs go on non-stop without any rests. They're songs shared between good friends or bitter enemies who, either way, can't stop chattering with one another. Sometimes the songs are slow, deliberate, and meaningful. They're songs shared between older people or sometimes someone delivering a sermon. And sometimes the songs don't have much melody. They're between inexperienced composers, too nervous to share their work. When I was little, my mom sung every word to me to clear up the monotony of my everyday life in this town. Since then, everything sounds like a song. Nothing can ever get boring if you hear the melodies between everyone's words. But now, nobody sings to me anymore. Nobody is allowed to. It's the rule. Oh boy. The chairs clattered and screeched before class that morning. The songs of the students resonated throughout the hall, leaking through the open doors, pouring into the room, drowning and suffocating me. If I spoke to anyone, I'd hear something ugly and vile. I covered my ears. It's better to keep everything soundless. A blurry, shapeless beetle crawled its way onto the tip of my finger. It jumped down and merged with the paper, looking perfectly like a pencil smudge. An ink-like tree root grabbed onto my pencil, threatening to pull it down. My vision was red, red, red. The beetles did not talk, and neither did the roots. They didn't even chitter or squeak. I couldn't call them friends. I couldn't even call them acquaintances. They were my mortal enemy. No, the town's mortal enemy. This is everyone's battle. That's what the head said. I should let someone know. I learned it doesn't matter whether I hide that I'm seeing things or not, because someone will figure it out anyways. Some kids were already looking my way. The teacher walked in, stood in front of a chalkboard with thousands of eyes plastered all over it, and took roll. He did it methodically and mechanically, making sure to get every one of us. It was late enough in the year I could tell when it was my turn without taking my hands off my ears. I croaked out affirmation. Here! Class began. Like every other time I'd get like this, it all blurred together. The notes became indecipherable. The things I wrote in my notebooks were either chicken scratch or random strings of letters. I was only copying what was on the board. The lunch start bell rang and the lunch end bell rang. I didn't even bother getting up to take my share. Faust would have probably just stolen my food anyways. Before I realized it, school ended just as quickly, and I began to shut my notebook. A familiar hand wedged itself forcefully between the pages before I could completely close it. Hey, Mercy. Hey, Mercy. It's a girl, okay? It was Clara. Right behind her were a few friends. The teacher kept calling on you, but you didn't answer. You're seeing things, aren't you? Look, your notes look like shit. Yeah. Yes. Clara smiled and giggled, glancing at her friends. You're so easy. Well, then, since Delilah's off training today, I guess we have to take her place. So you can show off your hack apostle skills. Faust sauntered past us, smirking at Clara. He was the only one in the class who still mocked her. He was a delinquent, someone who needed serious saving. I rarely saw him at the church, and I didn't like it when he decided to discipline me. Shut up, Faust. Have a lovely afternoon, Clara. Thankfully, he wasn't interested in messing with me that day. He left the room with his friends without saying anything else, and as soon as the door shut, Clara picked up all the books scattered on my desk. Huh? These are so messy. They're covered in creepy, dark blotches. That's weird. It's like they're really cursed or something. You're right. Clara walked out the door. I followed. She approached the trash chute in the hallway. It was large to accommodate for lots of trash from messy kids, so you could fit lots of things in there. What are you doing with my supplies? Take a wild guess, idiot. Oh no. Clara opened up the trash chute and placed my copy of the Dual Compendium inside. It was the only textbook we worked from, and it was hard to make new copies. If she destroyed that, I don't think that's necessary. But this book touched your other papers, right? The cursed one. It has to go, Mercy. I'm just looking out for everyone. Yeah, we're just trying to help. I didn't believe that for a second and lunged at the trash chute, making a desperate grab for my textbook. Clara's two friends restrained me. My body was so weak from taking constant beatings I couldn't fight back. Not that I'd fight back if I had the energy anyways. There's no real point. Oh, Clara put my notebook in as I looked on, exhausted. Already had a fight, huh? She seemed disappointed. Well, whatever. You're going to get in serious trouble when the teacher finds out. Delilah will be back tomorrow. I'm sure she'll find a good way to discipline you. She placed my schedule book on top of the stack. My heart sunk as I watched her push the whole stack down the chute. The books rattled around as I made their way down, eventually stopping at the compactor beneath our feet. Clara shut the chute door and pushed the button. The compactor came to life, mechanical buzzes and whirs emitting from below. The floor vibrated. There were some plastic and paper crinkling sounds right before it stopped. The button turned green again. The girls let go of me and left with Clara, walking down the stairs to the first floor. She called out to me without looking back. Good work, Mercy! See you tomorrow! As their backs disappeared down the stairs, their piercing laughs echoed throughout the empty school building. I was all alone. I decided I might as well get my empty bag and go home. I headed down the stairs to the first floor, past the primary school classes, and pressed my hand against the door anxiously. Everyone is going to be mad. When I left the school, I glanced to my left. Right by the school was a path that led out of the town. I had always been curious about it, but we weren't allowed to leave. I didn't have a reason to leave, anyways. I left quickly before I wasted any more time. Mm. I walked up the dirt path on the hill towards the river in the middle of town. The ground outside was a little damp. A group of adults stood near the river, waiting for the pre-dinner drink. I joined them, standing a fair distance away from them, not wanting to attract any attention. Adults were neither kind to me nor cruel. They only kept their distance and walked a little faster when I ended up behind them. Mercy. But the eldest people in town were different. I looked to my right. There was the old woman who lived near the river, gesturing for me to come over. I made my way to her front porch. She reached under her shawl and rummaged around in her dress pocket. Mercy, I made another barrier cross for you. Her wrinkled hand shook as she pulled out a little weaved grass cross attached to a blue ribbon. She always gave these to me. I took it and put it in my jacket pocket. Please try wearing it this time. If your true self is harmed spiritually when people are removing the curse, She wiggled her fingers around and closed her eyes, trying to remember what she was going to say. I waited patiently for her to finish. Then, it doesn't matter. We want you to be set free, not destroyed. I clutched it nervously. I didn't want to disappoint her, especially when she was being so nice to me. But the head said, when the last time he caught me with one, that it's protecting the curse? He's paranoid, Mercy. It's fine. Trust me. The woman waved her hands dismissively. I nodded, biting my lip, still unsure, and left with a quiet, thank you. Members of the clergy came down the hill with baskets full of gilded ladles, and everyone crowded near the river, more and more people joining as time passed. I stood as far as I could from the growing crowd. Some people I recognized from school. They were already in their casual clothing, shoving each other around jokingly and laughing about things I didn't quite understand. The apostles blessed the ladles with a prayer. Everyone received their share of water, even the old woman. The crowd grew smaller and smaller and smaller. Finally, the last strangler got their water, and I walked towards the only basket of ladles left. The young apostle, holding it, almost wandered off without me. Victoria, stop. A man who I recognized as Delilah's father put a hand on her shoulder. The apostle gave me a disgusted look and reluctantly put down the basket. I took a ladle, quickly got my water from the river, and threw it back in, running off to the church on the hill before anyone could say anything. It's better this way. It's always better this way. Jesus. Mercy, you're late. The head and Yaya have already finished dinner. Mercy, you're late. The head and Yaya have already finished dinner. The barrier head priestess gave me a disappointed look as I walked into the church. I ended up slipping and tumbling my way up the hill, down on my way up the hill, and now I was covered in mud. My whole body hurt. She shook her head and sighed. I suppose you're going without dinner tonight. Come, I'm taking you to your room. Yes, ma'am. She had a nasty look on her face the whole way up the stairs. Oh. When she tripped on this top step, she groaned. I flinched. You know, Mercy, would it really hurt to be a little more grateful every once in a while? We could have executed you. You're aware of that, right? Yes. We feed you. We give you clean clothes. All we're asking is for you to make it back home in time. Yes. She opened the door to my room, letting me inside with some parting words. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You'd do best to remember those words. I nodded again. Good night. The priestess shut the door. I peeled off my dirty clothes and put on my nightgown. I then took the little cross in my pocket and hid it at the bottom of my drawer. If an acolyte found it while cleaning my room, they'd tell the head he definitely hit me for it. Exhausted, I climbed into my bed and tried my best to sleep, hoping tomorrow would be a little easier. Once, I was loved. I had always been able to see things others couldn't, like white butterflies floating between blades of grass or flowers growing on barren trees. It was a sight I was gifted with. Mom and Dad smiled whenever I told them I saw sparkles around them, and they always laughed when I said happy grass was growing all around us. So one day, after chorus practice, they approached the head. "Look, head priest, our daughter is a prodigy, a one-of-a-kind individual with a penchant for seeing the unseen." When my parents proved it, we moved out of our little home into the church. The group dressed me in elegant robes and sat me atop a platform on the stage. Day in and day out, people would come and seek my sight, asking if I saw good or bad omens. Everyone's excited singing was so beautiful. I didn't go to school like the other kids did. I was special. A lot of the kids scowled when their parents dragged them in to see me. I guess it's only fair. I'd always get jealous when I watched them play downhill. A rare few admired me, and most of those rare few tried to take tests to become apostles when they came of age. Their gaze was refreshing. I welcomed it. My visions were always good. People would smile and thank me, but they weren't allowed to touch me. Mom couldn't even pat my head anymore, but she didn't seem to mind. The head said it was an important rule to uphold. I was at high risk of being tainted by the ugly masses. I didn't argue. He was the leader of this town. He always brought us miraculous medicines and food from seemingly nowhere. So, naturally, he was always right. I missed Mom's touch, though. It was something I treasured. She rarely did it, and now she couldn't do it at all. But at least I was loved. My 8th year, my parents died from heart failure, or so I was told. I couldn't remember seeing them actually die. For a week, I assumed they'd come back eventually, but they never did. Yaya would pat my head as I sobbed, telling me everything was going to be okay, that the group will take even better care of me than before. The clergy pitied me for months, and at least once a day, someone would give me a little extra off their plates. It was a generous gesture. We don't get much for our meals. The little villagers left me flowers they picked. Every morning I woke up to more flowers than usual piled near my platform. Oh boy, wow. This is very good. Yeah, let's continue. But it still hurt. My room felt so empty without Mom's dresses or Dad's shoes messily thrown on the floor. I even missed the alcohol the head had gifted them that they hid under the bed. I refused to come downstairs for anything other than visions. Instead, I cried and cried and cried. My ribs could be seen if you looked under my shirt. When everyone forgot my parents' death, it suddenly seemed like a lot less people were coming. Normally, I felt like a little ant sitting among groups of people. I didn't know if it was because I got bigger over the years or turnout actually changed. Staff would whisper to each other when people wouldn't come for days at a time. Only the elders and devout families made weekly visits. Nobody remembered it was my 9th year. I looked at kids wearing the school uniform with envy. The few children who still got dragged in to see my vision still glared at me like I was the cause of all their suffering. I didn't understand. They were the ones who got to go outside. I wanted to go outside. I wanted to leave this place. I wanted to play with everyone. I wanted to go to school with everyone. I wanted to drink the water with everyone. I wanted to do this and that without any restrictions. They never, ever let me go outside. Not once. They forgot it was my 10th year. So I went outside late one night, cupping water from the river in my hands instead of taking it from my gilded ladle like I was supposed to. I was never loved again. I woke up the next day feeling nauseous. Dreams about my past were frequent and tiring, but it was better than waking up and living in reality. If I had a choice, I'd never wake up from my dreams, no matter how repetitive they are. Ooh, that is not a nice sound. I put on my freshly cleaned uniform and left the room. The tiny hallway outside of my room wasn't too busy that day. It was so narrow, even two people could barely squeeze through there side by side. I headed down the only stairs to the first floor and entered the hallway surrounding the main room. From one of the 3 doors into the main room, I could hear the head delivering a morning sermon. I didn't want to disturb him out of fear of any repercussions, so I patiently waited for him to finish. "Mercy, good morning." I turned around. Oh, Mercy! Mercy, good morning. Delilah stood there in her school uniform. I smiled a tiny bit, blushing. "Are you coming to school today?" "Yes, I'll be here tomorrow as well." Lately they've told me I'm doing so well, they don't know what to teach me until my 16th year, so I'll be coming to school a lot more often until then. "Are you waiting for the head to finish?" I nodded nervously. The the only exit is in the main room, and the doors are kind of squeaky, so don't worry. Follow close behind me and you'll be fine. I did as Delilah said and made sure to keep myself hidden when we walked in. The few elderly people sitting at the front pews glanced at her, then returned their attention to the head's sermon. He stood atop the stage in front of the pews, standing behind a pulpit with a copy of the scripture open before him. I didn't see Yaya around, which must mean she was having trouble rising again. I hoped she was all right. "And so the Lat said to the troubled man, 'Keep your head high, sir. This situation is not hopeless. Should one be confronted with a demon, you must first not give him as he desires. Next, you must protect yourself with the barrier, invoking its name while lighting a bundle of field grass. And finally, you shall trick him into drinking so much water his belly becomes distended, and he shall never bother you again.' That concludes this morning's sermon. Bendith, my friends. Bendith." The visitors bowed, rose from their seats, and left the building quietly. The head walked down from the stage, picking up the cane leaning against the pulpit. He approached us slowly, shaking a little with each step. I always liked the sound of his cane hitting the floor. "Good morning, you two." "Good morning, holy head." Delilah gave him a deep bow. "Please, Delilah, you have already become such an incredible heir. There is no need to bow so deeply when you're just starting to surpass your father in skill." "Was turnout low again today?" "Yes, it seems the clergy's concerns have even reached you. I hope this drought of faith ends soon. I worry for the future of the children, and the children's children, and the children's 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 children." "Mercy." I stood to attention, snapping out of my thoughts quickly. "Yes?" "You were late for dinner last night. I'm very disappointed in you. You've been doing this a lot lately. Perhaps you should go without food today to know what it's like to live in a world where you don't have people to give it to you so generously." I gulped. "That shouldn't be necessary. It's not her fault. Much of her lateness is due to rituals, which is something she has to do. Is it not good that she's doing as she's told?" "Delilah, you know it's a waste when we have to throw out our food. However, I suppose you're right. Mercy, you've been excused this time. You two eat your breakfast and head to school. It's almost time for the morning drink. Yes, sir. Okay. I didn't know what made me so worthy of Delilah's protection, but she defended me anyways. She was the only one out of all of the other kids that actually cared about my well-being. But I was sure she'd get sick of protecting me eventually. I must be irritating to deal with. Delilah's fans crowded around her and kept asking her what she did while she was away. She gave them the same blank expression and the same response, but girls would sigh anyways. It's always just reciting prayer and rituals in the courtyard. She perfected them all only a month after learning them, just like how everything else she did was perfect. I didn't really blame these girls for sighing. During that day's reading, once again she spoke with a perfect cadence and flipped the worn pages of her textbook gently. Her words had a nice flow to them that not many could achieve. The God of the two halves descended upon the raised earth. From a single, twin-headed seed came the first two families. From the same budding plant, the 100-year stalk connecting them became the head. For 100 years and several short-lived generations they fought for dominance, but it was our head that stopped them, uniting them and forming our beloved town. The sun filtered through the half-shut curtains nicely. Since Delilah sat close to the windows, it shined on her like a spotlight. Even from where I sat, I could see how soft her hair is. His dutifulness did not go unnoticed. God came again, its trial proving how the world should work. Two sides and one neutral party to bring them together. To reward them all for succeeding without killing off the other's lineage, God granted them sustenance and roofing, and the holy river which provides us with our water. We listened to the story at least once a month, so we didn't forget where we came from and who we should always appreciate. Usually in our class, Delilah read it like always, but sometimes they let an acolyte in training do it. It had to do with something about how their words bind it tightly with holy care. I never quite understood, and I didn't feel any different. Maybe it was the curse. Delilah softly inhaled whenever she needed air, never taking too long nor making it so short she'd become breathless later on. But God gave the head a special task. Recognizing him as an efficient moderator, it gave him permanent immortality. Then God delivered to him the holy woman, the divine woman, the woman who speaks the word of God, and tasked him with her safekeeping and purity. With the holy woman... Okay, this is not... Okay. I'm not liking where this is going. With the holy woman, the head populated the town, and their work became the fada of today. The class clapped. Delilah bowed and took her seat. Some girls sitting next to me sighed at the same ones who approached her this morning. I played with my pencil and stared at my empty desk. The teacher noticed right away and frowned. Mercy, where are your notes? We had to get rid of them. Who is we? Before I could answer, Faust raised his hand. He sat far away in the back of the class, right next to the door, so he could leave quickly. Oh, teacher, you think she's having another one of those hallucinations? His friends laughed. Maybe she has an evil imaginary friend who makes her do bad things. Yeah, so she'll need punishment, right? Punishment! Punishment! Faust and his rowdy crew chanted and laughed, pounding on their desks to the timing of every syllable. All of you be quiet. Delilah glared at them. They immediately shut up, Faust grimacing and growling. Stupid church hound. She looked back at Clara, who sat directly behind her, and Clara cowered. Clara, do you know anything about it? Yesterday, me and my friends noticed she was seeing things, and we saw all these splotches she drew in her books. So we decided to throw them out in the compactor. I see. There's your answer, ma'am. The teacher nodded and looked directly at me. Jesus. Naturally, we cannot let what happened transpire without some sort of ritual. Delilah, I'll leave you to do it after class. Yes, ma'am. And then class continued without any further interruptions. I barely paid attention the entire time. Even though I had nothing to worry about, since Delilah always kept her punishments mild, I still had a broken heart to repress. Delilah was so cool. Delilah was so pretty. And yet I would never get to speak to her like the other girls did. The final bell rang abruptly and pulled me out of my thoughts. Faust leaned against my desk after class ended, his arms crossed. You look so depressed all the time. Don't you ever get tired of it? Why are you here? I'm gonna help, obviously. Clara came up with the punishment idea. It'll be fun! For me, anyways. Oh, don't give me that face, Mercy. You sure are cute when you make the bare minimum effort to look mad. Faust, stop messing with her and get over here if you're going to help. Jesus! Whatever. Delilah, Clara, and her friends, and Faust and his friends all huddled together as Delilah explained to them what they were going to do. Their voices were low, but I could hear something about a bath. A minute later, the group broke up and approached me. Mercy, come with us. We'll be going to the sink outside. Okay. I followed the group downstairs, keeping my distance like usual. The children in grades 1 through 6 got to play outside during lunch, so the communal sink was for washing themselves off when lunch ended. Of course, nobody was washing anything after school. It was a large, oh no, attached to the bedside wall. We'll be using a water-based ritual to counteract the curse. You remember it from last month, yes, Mercy? I nodded quietly. Clara recommended it that time, too. I bent over the basin, whatever. My head hanging over the drain. It was one of the most aggressive, expulsive rituals Delilah utilized when punishing me. Even though expulsive energy was represented by the color red, it had so many water-based rituals. And the same went for the barrier, which was blue, with fire-based rituals. Fire scared away enemies and water purified them. That was the logic behind the scripture. Someone turned on all 4 of the faucets. I shut my eyes tight and held my breath once I hate this word. Basin, reached full capacity. I felt the surface of the water lightly brush against the tip of my nose. As soon as I did, someone shoved my head into the water rather forcefully. I recognized their strength. How could I not when it was the same as the one who always beats me? Having fun, Mercy? Faust pulled my head out of the water so I could get air, or perhaps just to say something cruel to me. I faintly heard Delilah reciting some sort of prayer. O Divine One, expel from her this curse. My head went right back into the basin. My nostrils filled with so much water, the back of my throat burned. Oh, God. Every time I thought my lungs would burst, I'd be pulled back up at just the right time to get some air. I was convinced that after 5 years of tormenting me, Faust had memorized even my breathing patterns. Come on, squirm a little, why don't you? Make it look like it's actually working. No mercy for Mercy! Before I could completely catch my breath, my face went back into the water. I ended up inhaling some as a result and kicked my legs in shock. Faust wouldn't pull my head back up. Glub. His laughing was muffled by the water in my ears. He pressed me down harder, my neck squeezing against the edge. The water turned red. At first I thought it was because he caused me to bleed, but when a beetle swam around at the bottom of the... I knew what had happened. The ritual wasn't working. This was bad. I have to endure more punishments. I'm lightheaded. Oh! Faust! Just then, Faust's hand flew off my head. Someone lifted me out of the water, holding me in their arms. It was Delilah. What is wrong with you? You don't need to do it so harshly. The point is not to kill. I get it, but you didn't still have to hit me so hard, bitch. A little warning would have been nice. Get out of my sight. I'll be telling your parents about what you did. Faust immediately shut up. One of his friends made a low ooh, and Faust's other friend elbowed him. Don't do that, man. You know what his parents are like. Sorry. Whatever. Let's get out of here. With that, Faust left. I started coughing violently, some water rising out of my throat. Mercy, are you all right? Oh. I tried to respond, but I only ended up coughing up more. Delilah took that as a sign I wasn't fine and stood up. She pulled me up with her and let me lean against her for support as I continued to cough. Let's go home. Good work, you three. Thank you for your help. Clara and her friends waved. Goodbye, Miss Delilah. She cheerily addressed Delilah while pretending I wasn't even there. The two of us began to make our way up the hill, and I'm gonna have to stop here. Okay, so, one, this is a really, really freaking good visual novel. Like, oh my god. Wow. Like, God, Jesus. Very good. Number one, very, very good. I really, Jesus, God. Very good. The warnings were warranted. It reminds me a lot of the When They Cry games series. I mean, I don't know if it's intentional, but it does feel like it's kind of emulating that in a very good way, or like maybe Fata Morgana a little. I don't know, but it's whatever it is. Very, 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 very good. So again, links in the description. I gotta stop. For one, I'm probably gonna kill my voice, and two, I just need a break for this emotionally. So yeah, I gotta cut it here. Jesus. I don't think I'm gonna do another one of these just because this was a lot to do. But I'll link in the description. Do it. You can. Yeah. Until next time. This is Justiguy. And amazing game. Yeah. Farewell.